Hello and welcome to the video. Today I want to paint up one of the Death Guard miniatures from the new Kill Team set. I've always really liked Nurgle, I've always really liked the Plague Marines, so I'm excited to get this guy painted up and see what we can do. I do have to leave a disclaimer though, at the beginning of this video. If you are a die-hard 40k fan, you may want to click off because I'm probably going to say something wrong, and I just wanted to give you fair warning. So with that, let's get going. After priming the mini gray, I'm going to come in with olive drab for the base coat. I thought that this shade of green looked really good for a Nurgle color. I didn't want something super bright and I didn't want something really dark, but I think that this kind of dull green fits the look that I'm going for. And with this, I'm just kind of putting on a quick, really heavy dry brush coat all over the miniature. I'm not being very careful, and that is one of the wonderful things about painting up Nurgle miniatures, is that they're meant to be a little bit dirty and messy. So they're not clean and pristine, so you can be a little sloppy, which fits my painting style just perfect. I started doing the trim work in this brass color. I got about halfway through and then decided that it wasn't really the color that I was looking for. It was a little too yellowish, a little too gold. So I ended up stopping and then coming back in with bronze. The bronze definitely came out a lot better than the brass I was using. I was pretty happy once I started using this. And I'm just doing all of the trim work here. I used the reference picture so that I knew what to paint and what not to paint. But yeah, so far he's looking good. And the great thing about these miniatures being kind of snapped together is that I was able to keep the pieces apart and then just put them back together when I was all done. But it made painting them a lot easier, being able to keep the whole arm separate, the backpack separate, and the flail. Usually I just pre-assemble everything because it all needs to be super glued, but this was actually pretty convenient. I used lead belcher for all of the silver metallic parts, which for this model there wasn't a whole lot. For the flail shaft, I'm just using chocolate brown here. I used a little bit of burnt red to do his loincloth. I thought the red would give him just a little bit of color that he needs. Something that'll break up just the dull overall color of the miniature. For the fleshy bits, I'm using pale flesh. I'm going to use this to paint up the tentacle and also to do a base coat on the little nurglings that are hanging on to them. I'm going to wash the whole figure using Earthshade. And as I said previously, the beautiful thing about Nurgle figures is that you can just kind of go crazy with making them as dirty as you want. So this wash does an excellent job of putting down just a nice brown shade over all of it. Really gets into the recesses, darkens everything up, blends it all together, makes it a lot easier. Once everything dries, I'm coming back in with olive drab, and I'm just going to re-highlight all of the green armor, mostly staying only in the parts where the light's going to be hitting it the most. I could have went further with highlighting, especially the ridges like on his feet you see there, maybe at the very tippy top of the shoulder pads or the chest plate, the helmet, but I thought just going back with this, with the olive drab, I felt like it brought it up high enough to where I was happy with it. I didn't want to make it too bright and shiny, because after all, he is a Plague Marine, everything's kind of dirty on him. I have to say, out of the 4 Chaos Gods, Slaanesh is probably my favorite, followed by Nurgle, followed by Khorne, and then Tzeentch is probably the last. Out of the miniatures though, I like the Nurgle Plague Marines the best. I'm not really crazy about the Noise Marines. I don't like those figures as good. Khorne has some really cool miniatures, and then Tzeentch is probably my least favorite. But with the Plague Marines, I just love the color of them. I love the bronze trim on them. I just really like the way that they look. I'm going to water down some Warlord Purple to go over the tentacle and the fleshy bits on him. And I'm also going to put this over the Nurglings that are holding on. For the horns, I'm going to start off with a base of skeleton bone. Again, referencing the box art, these are the type that they start light and then at the tip of the horn, they become really dark. So that's what I went with here. And this skeleton bone gives a really nice shade for any kind of horn or tusks that you might need to paint. Once dry, I'm going to do a couple of layers of Earthshade on it, and making sure that we hit the tip of the horns the heaviest and let that set and dry good. I'm using green-gray to highlight the fleshy bits on the Marine and also the little Nurglings. I'll highlight his loincloth with Mephiston Red. I'm not going overboard here, just picking out the raised ridges on it. I used Averland Sunset just to pick out some of the little boils and little bumps that are on the creatures and the Marine. I used Livery Green to add some color to the Nurglings, all of the drippings that are oozing out of the Plague Marine. I'm going to do a dry brush on the fumes that are coming out of the mace heads. I just used a white for this. And then I'm going to come in and do a wash with this algae color. It's almost like a blue-green, but I'm mostly focusing on the base of the fumes here so that that's where the color stands out the most. Now to finish this guy off, I'm gonna, and this is something that I usually don't do with my miniatures, but I'm gonna use a little bit of this pigment powder that I have. This really gives everything like a dried, muddy look to it. I use it very sparingly. I don't go overboard with it. You can always add more to it. If you do add too much, you can always go back in with a little bit of water and remove some of it. But I figure a little goes a long way. I just wanted a little bit so that you could tell that this guy's been walking through all of the muck and the slop, and just to dirty up his boots and some of the bronze colored trimmings a little bit. As I said, I just kind of put this in a little bit of recesses and mostly on his legs. And what I did here was I take the dry and kind of stipple on the dry with just an old brush. And then to make it stick and to make it more mud looking, I take just a little bit of water on a brush and just make it wet. And that'll almost like stain the model and give it like a nice dirty look to it. So yeah, with that, we're gonna put this guy back together, get the base painted up, and I am really happy with him. As I said, Nurgle has always been one of my favorites, so to actually get a Plague Marine and get him painted up, I'm excited to get the rest of them and get a little squad going. I think it's gonna be phenomenal. But now I have to think about what chapter of Space Marines I'm going to do. I have a Raven Guard army, but I'm thinking about painting these ones as flesh tears. I'm not certain yet. I hope that you enjoyed this video of me painting up a 40k guy. Usually I'm doing Heroscape, but if you all like the 40k picture painting, I'll start throwing a few more of those in because I really enjoy painting them. So with that, I hope that you enjoyed the video. I hope that this inspires you to get some of your miniatures painted up, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.